All right. Hello, everyone. Guess what? I'm going to be covering my favorite topic with you. Not my favorite, actually. This is going to be a legal oriented building with confidence legally. So this is a compliance type of talk. And understand that, if you're still fairly new in the business, really just capturing everything that Jared talked about in his compliance training already. I mean, that's the key, going through your compliance certification, initially as a new associate, referring back to the USANA hub and staying up to date on information that's in there is really going to help you stay on track. However, I do want to walk you through a lot of the reasoning that we do this. And especially as you start to become you've got more traction on social media, you're out there doing things that potentially regulators can, come into and find a door opening to us, right? So I always worry about that. And so the thing is when I put words out there with a lot of my posts that potentially you have a regulator, and we'll just say for right now, we'll say it's the FTC, but it could be other regulators too. But let's just say that there's some employees that are sitting at home working. A lot of them work from home, but they are working or in an office and going through and searching for words on the web. These trigger words are what brings them into, like our company or into one of our worlds. In fact, there are even computer programs now and software programs that search for these words that get used over and over and over. And a lot of times these words get used in the wrong way. They end up being misleading. And it's not that we're really a misleading company at all. It's just you have to understand we're part of a massive, massive direct selling industry. And there are literally, so many hundreds of thousands of distributors and associates around the world globally with all kinds of different companies. And they're using these words sometimes in not the right way. And so the last thing you want to do is be using one of these trigger words, especially if you're, saying it out there, it's being recorded, or it's, or even if you're using it on social media posts or LinkedIn or YouTube or anything like that. So let's talk about that. What do you think the biggest trigger words are? Put it in the chat. That the FTC or regulators or the new software programs that track for what these trigger words would be. What do you think? Go ahead and put them in the chat right now. Let's see if you guys can come up with some of these. Yeah, what do you think? Yes, residual income for sure. Big no-no, right? Because it's a trigger word that they're looking for. So let's just talk about that for a minute. Anything to do with recurring income, retire earlier, or early retirement, or you're retired, but yet you're still earning commissions and money. I mean, that doesn't happen technically out there in life anyways. And technically, we get a percentage of all the sales volume that we have that people are ordering and consuming within our organization, right? If they stop ordering the product, then our commissions stop too, right? They go down if our sales volume goes down. It's just completely relative to whatever type of sales volume we're generating, correct? So it's technically not officially like a residual income. I mean, often like a residual income could be more like an investment where you get a certain amount, back based upon how that investment is doing, mutual funds or stocks, bonds, real estate investments, and things like that, REITs. So that's kind of more of that residual income. So we got to be careful. Even though we can build an amazing business, but understand it has incredible benefits, but that residual word is just a really bad swear word that we can't say anymore because it's going to lead regulators to us, right? We also don't want to mislead people because, when we talk about, for example, retire early, retirement, retire young, millionaire, all these are also those same trigger words that the program or these regulators put together a combination of 2 or 3 from your profile or from your post, and then it flags you, right? And so keep in mind that, just like in real estate, just like in insurance sales, automobile sales, almost anything out there, solar energy cells, like you have to be on the hustle. You got to be out there working hard if you want to develop it. Not everybody really puts in the time and effort to build. They may want to build and they love the community and they love the ambiance and they just love our products, bottom line, but they don't necessarily go out there and take action, right? So we also want to be careful. We don't want to put unlimited income potential. If we say that, then that's a trigger word, right? Is that in the chat somewhere? How about the sky is the limit? you know, how many people can be misled by that accidentally, not thinking about it when we say that? Well, of course, it's common sense. We get paid a percentage of product sales. If you increase product sales, then you increase your income, right? It's pretty common sense. We don't have to tell people that, you know, there's unlimited income potential. Obviously, we don't need to be promoting that out there in order to attract people, right? The other thing that they're really looking for, another trigger word, if someone else got it in the chat there, it's that part-time income, right? It's been used so many times, part-time income, earn part-time income, earn part-time income, that now that's one of those important trigger words that the regulators are looking for, right? So be careful, don't put part-time income. Even if you're saying full-time income, for a lot of time, you know, I would just talk about my journey, and then it was like, okay, how do I help people to understand my journey with knowing that here's what kind of time it took before I started to go full time. And I was proud of that. And I was excited for that. But how many people really develop an income by percentage that they really do go full time? So I don't want to be promoting out there and happen to have people feel like that maybe they can do this full time. Maybe they're not really going to be able to do it full time because maybe they don't put in the amount of effort, right? So a lot of this is just common sense too, but regardless, these words get used over and over and over. Weekly pay, got to come out. We can't say weekly pay. Yes, we do get paid weekly. When people understand our compensation plan, we know that. Talk to any one of us that earn checks or anyone in your upline, and of course, we get paid weekly. And if you generate enough sales volume on your left and right side, we know this, then you earn a check the following week, right? It's common sense. We don't need to use that in marketing out there, right? How about binary compensation plan? That's another word that, you know, has been talked a little bit about that we have to not say, just because, again, it's labeling, it's a word out there that is being searched for, and we don't want to do that. So think of new words, right? New ways to be able to talk about things. So when these words get used over and over, like, we just have to find other words, right? So for example, side hustle is a way that you could attract people, and that's the same as part-time income, right? I mean, it's actually more sexy to say side hustle than really earn part-time income. So, you know, there's also ways to be able to do this. For example, instead of saying, you know, you can build this part-time too, how about if you have spare time, if you have spare hours in your week, you could dedicate those hours to building a business with us. All right. So it's a little bit more personal, it's more sexy, and it's more attractive. And so, you know, we just got to get rid of these swear words, so to speak now, or these trigger words that these regulators are looking for. That's it. So that's the most important thing. Now, let's see. The other way I can kind of put this is, remember that the most successful people in our whole world with what we do with USANA, what I've found, and many other leaders have found as well, is that the most successful people aren't the most successful because they're the strongest or they're the smartest. The most successful leaders that I've seen build throughout my organization and with, you know, other sideline ones around the world with USANA, it's those that are most adaptable. So remember that word adaptable. This is really the key. And you know what? The business has evolved as I've built business now for 26 years in USANA. Absolutely have I had to be adaptable at all the time, shifts and pivots and changes in terms of anything going on, from how we do the business to our products, to evolutions in what we do, to science advancements, to, you know, who's currently being promoted or involved in the company at a certain time. We've got amazing management people we get very connected to, and they might retire or someone else fills that position, and now we don't have them there at that part anymore, and we're so used to having them, and that's a pivot. It's a change. We learn to be adaptable, and we learn to pivot with that. If you remember the pivot word and you remember the adaptable word, then that's going to help you a long ways in being super successful throughout your entire journey, lifelong, with USANA. All right, and here's another thing. For heaven's sakes, guys, if you're some of our older leaders, you need to make sure you go back over your past social media. Guess what? Nobody is going to be looking at your posts that are more than a year old. Nobody, except for one problem: the regulators and their computer programs and their software scavengers. They find all those posts that are even 10 years old, 20 years old, 15 years old, 13 years old. Man, I had to hire somebody as an assistant to come in and go through all of my past social media. And I started to realize, oh my gosh, how much stuff did I used to post? Oh my gosh, like what were you thinking, Stansfield? I never really visualized the day that I was gonna have to go back and like start deleting so much crap. It's so time consuming. So I kind of slowed down my social media posts nowadays. I'm thinking, geez, down the road, I don't want to have to go back and remove all this stuff again. It's like, understand that anything, like I say, anything that's over a year, no one's looking at that, except for someone that could potentially be a door opening to really hurt your business if you happen to have some words. And keep in mind, these trigger words, they change. So some of these trigger words were not trigger words 15 years ago. And I could use them on some of my posts. But now, in just a simple hashtag with unlimited income or a simple hashtag with weekly pay, it's now a trigger word. But it wasn't 15 years ago. So does that make sense? Like this is why it's so important that when you make posts, you think about this and realize you're probably gonna have to go back and delete that at some point. Here's the other thing. If you're promoting for a work from anywhere or a presentation or an event, guys, once the event's passed, delete the post. It's not doing you any good keeping it on your social media. So keep in mind, this has to be now an adaptable way that you build your business, which is you want to post something. Some things are just temporary, like a story, right? But you got to remember, you got to get back in there and pull it back off and delete it, for example. There's just no sense in having it. It's nothing that's going to help you by having too many. In fact, do you know that some of the biggest followers that I connect with in social media, people in the modeling community as well, outside of the direct selling industry, huge influencers, they delete posts because when people go and see how many posts they have on their Instagram, if it's too big of a number, people won't follow them because they don't want to be inundated with too many posts from that person. So those people usually go back and they delete so much stuff in the past so that really when people go there, they can see a smaller amount of posts. So that way it's more invitable to follow that person. But the thing is, if you're going to leave a car or some travel or some lifestyle, it's best just to not connect it with USANA anyway, period. But that doesn't give you free reign because still other posts on your social media still show you're doing USANA. And I'm sure if they follow your lives and they're still doing USANA. So it doesn't completely get you off the hook. If you still have a cool boat you've just bought and you love taking out associates on it and whatnot, the thing is just don't use it as a tool to try to grow your business, right? If it's more of your lifestyle and your world and you're a hustler and it's a reward, great, but don't attach it to your USANA business, number one. And even if you do post it and you don't attach it to USANA business, I would still use the income disclaimers, the detailed ones. So if you go into your USANA hub and go into the compliance section, then you're going to be able to find the appropriate disclaimers for your market, okay, that are important. So you can put that in there, and that helps to be more of a safe zone. Because that way it helps to, disclose that, hey, there's a lot of work that goes into building. We don't want this to be misconstrued as a guaranteed income or anything. And, if it's a light thing, like something you're doing on your story, on an Instagram story, and it's a car, something new or travel or whatnot, and it's somehow just, people feel it's the vibe because you're awesome at building USANA, and so this is why you're showing that off a little bit. Well, we have a story where we have an at USANA_income that can be tagged with your story. So at least it gives you some protection there. And it just helps to, you feel safer about it, right? And also it feels better because it brings people to the averages. So that way it feels like you're not out there trying to overdo it, right? So don't get into the showboat game. It's not a showboat game, and it can be built so it still protects the company, protects your business, protects your long-term efforts of you growing this thing and being around. If your children can be involved, their children can be involved. I'm hoping for that for generation after generation with my USANA business and my children and my legacy, right? That's what this is all about. So join me in making these pivots, making sure that you're adaptable, and we'll make sure that we're in business long-term, and all of us are here together for, making a difference around the world and helping everybody realize their dreams and helping people that want to work hard enough to have their dreams become a reality. Thanks for listening.